I'm here with Jack Smith, presidential candidate for the QMU. Thank you for joining us, Jack.
Thanks for having me.
Alright, well, first off, will you just tell us a bit about yourself, your experience with the QMU, and why you wanted to be president?
Right, yeah, sure. I've been on board at the QM since the November of my second year. I started off as a CSR and publications lieutenant working with Communicate magazine, and I went on in the following March to run for Honorary Assistant Secretary. I spent a year on the exec last year, overseeing elections and kind of supporting the board of management. And I decided to run for president because I think the union is in a bit of a difficult spot at the moment, and I'd like to kind of help make everything a bit better.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, the QMU's unique personality and reputation has always been a debatable subject. So what do you believe it to be at the minute, and what would you like it to be?
It's reputation or personality? Both.
It's personality.
It's personality. At the moment, I think it's fairly relaxed, and it can. I think at the moment it's a bit of a kind of blank canvas, and you can project anything you want onto it. You can make it whatever you want it to be, which I think is quite good. I think there's been some talk of it trying to appeal to too many people, and in the process appealing to no one, which I understand. And I think that's a problem with events that we've run in the past. They're a bit too kind of broad and don't develop their own identity. But the union itself, I think, manages to be anything you want it to be. You get in what you you get out what you put in, and you can make it anything you like. So long as you're comfortable and happy there, then that's really all I want to see from the union.
Alright, on the subject of events, you were on the executive during the continual decline of Friday night club night magic, which ultimately failed this year. How can members and voters trust you to run the union when you can't maintain a club night?
I understand that. I think that magic started off fairly well. It had a successful first 3 or 4 weeks when we introduced it. It did well. Over the course of that year, it didn't lose money. Ultimately, the problem with it was that it was a loss in potential rather than magic being a loss-making scheme. It just wasn't making the money that we could make if we did something else. I think the exec have been entirely right in cutting it short this year, getting rid of it and doing different things. And I would like to continue to do that. I wouldn't try to bring back a weekly club night. I would be inclined to go out and do other things, try more unique events and try and get in more external bookings and things like that.
Okay. Yeah. Well, one of the main points that you emphasise in your manifesto is that you intend to campaign for more funding from the university itself, so that the union can continue to provide student services. However, what makes you believe that union services deserve this funding that would otherwise go to employee salaries, research, equipment, and redevelopment and refurbishment?
I wouldn't be asking for the university to divert funding away from research and from staff salaries and things like that. Well, not all staff salaries. I think there are certain members of staff that are paid way above any reasonable salary, and that money could be diverted. But I'm not asking that we cut cleaners' wages or anything like that. That would be obscene. I think the unions across the board, well, the two unions and GUSA and the SRC play a very important role in making Glasgow what it is. We're always talking about how brilliant it is that we have 4 student bodies and not 1. And to allow that to continue and to keep Glasgow University's unique status in the world of universities, we need to support those bodies.
Yeah, okay. Another point you elaborate on is encouraging feedback and participation from students for the union. This has always been an issue with QMU. For example, there's been rumour of cliques and failed club night and low turnout for elections. And so, how would you intend on combating this?
I think we need to be more proactive in seeking feedback. Rather than sit back and wait for people to tell us what's wrong, we need to go out and ask people what's wrong. And people might not be that interested, they might not want to talk about it too much. I know that Max, the current president, has attempted presidential surgeries and has sat around in more public areas of the union and hoped that people would come and speak to him. And he's even gone out and spoken to people himself and not had a huge amount of success with it. So I understand that it might be difficult to kind of draw out that feedback, but I think it's worth trying, and it's worth trying to be as proactive as possible. Going up to halls is something I mentioned in my manifesto, because first years are the people that are going to be there for the, they're going to be at the university for the next 4 years. So if you can get their feedback as constantly as possible, then it's going to help us to produce something that students want more. It's going to help us to do our job better. Likewise, I talk about a couple of surveys, and I think the university and the SRC do a few surveys every year. I don't know a huge amount about them because we don't have it. I don't think the QM and presumably the GUU and GUSA as well don't have as much input into creating these surveys as we maybe like, so that we can ask the questions we want answers to. So ultimately it's being proactive and going out to seek feedback rather than waiting for it to come to us.
Okay, well, on that point, in the last year or so, the union has been using informal feedback boards about the building. Have they been successful since you've been on board?
Very. I think they've been great. They're always, I mean, there's substantially less kind of jokey stuff written on it than I expected there would be. I thought it would just be covered in obscene drawings and things like that. But it's gone really well, actually. It's been very successful, and it's a credit to the exec and the board at the moment that they've done that and stuck with it and tried to make it as, because for a while they put specific things on it. They said, you know, what do you want us to improve about the cafe? And people wrote a lot about the cafe, and we've actioned that, and it's gone very well. So that kind of thing certainly helps to form a picture of what people think of us.
Sorry. Okay, well, given that they essentially serve the same purpose as surveys, do you think that surveys are going to be enough of a push to get feedback back?
They serve the same purpose, but they capture a different audience. A whiteboard in the building only captures people that come into the building, and at that point, I wouldn't say you're quite preaching to the converted, but almost. I want to find out why the people that don't come into the building every day aren't coming into the building every day, and a survey is a better way of reaching those people than a whiteboard sitting outside the cafe, which is helpful, but speaks to a much more limited number of people than a survey.